The prisoners were given a chance to redeem themselves, but had no idea what awaited them. On the night of January 21, 1968, a North Korean military unit, Unit 124, infiltrates South Korea with the goal of assassinating President Park Chung-hee. As the soldiers prepare to split into groups and attack their targets, they are ambushed by South Korean troops. Most of the North Korean team doesn't survive, but their commander is captured. Meanwhile, an assassin named Kang In-chan, along with his group of militants, breaks into Park Chung-hee's residence. A fight breaks out between the mercenaries and the guards, and Kang In-chan wounds one of the officials with a knife that once belonged to his father. Soon after, the police arrive, and Kang In-chan tries to flee the scene but is surrounded and forced to surrender. Later, the police transport Kang In-chan to the courthouse, where he is sentenced to death. At the same time, a press conference is held where the surviving commander of Unit 124 admits that their mission was to assassinate the South Korean president. Just before the execution, Captain Choi Jae-hyun visits Kang In-chan. He reminds him that his father was once accused of espionage for North Korea, but managed to escape before his sentence was carried out, and no one knows where he is now. Choi Jae-hyun explains that Kang In-chan was sentenced to death because of his father, and he ruined his life when he joined a gang as a youth, unable to find a job. However, the captain offers Kang In-chan a chance to redeem himself by participating in a special mission against North Korea, using his father's knife for the good of the country. After some thought, Kang In-chan agrees. Soon, Kang In-chan and the other prisoners are taken to Silmido Island to prepare for the mission. Among them is a man named Han Sang-pil, who was publicly executed by hanging but secretly freed. During the journey to the island, the prisoners begin to clash, and soon they turn on each other. Sergeant Joe observes the violent brawl between the enraged criminals, then fires a shot in the air. The prisoners quickly regain their composure, but Joe orders them to abandon the ship and jump into the water. The men begin to rebel again, but Joe counts to 3 before opening fire on them. Shocked, the prisoners move to the edge of the boat but still refuse to jump. In response, Sergeant Joe throws a grenade into their boat, and the men scramble to escape in terror. Joe and 2 other soldiers switch to a different boat, leaving the prisoners to swim to Silmido. After some time, the exhausted death row inmates reach the island. Each is assigned a soldier, and then Captain Choi Jae-hyun, the one who spoke with Kang In-chan in prison, steps forward. Choi Jae-hyun tells the prisoners that they are society's outcasts, but if they wear the military uniform, they will share a common goal, to protect the Korean people and reunite the country. From now on, he and the team of soldiers will train the prisoners for the benefit of the nation, and the training will be much harder than the mission that lies ahead. Though survival will be difficult, they will go down in history as some of the best Korean soldiers. Choi Jae-hyun asks those who are willing to face the challenge to put on the uniform. After a brief pause, all the prisoners accept, as they have nothing left to lose. Finally, Choi Jae-hyun declares that they are now members of the Korean Special Forces Unit 684, and their mission is to reach Pyongyang and slit Kim Il-sung's throat. This shocks the recruits, as they are all from North Korea. The unit soon begins its intense military training. In addition to exhausting physical exercises, they endure abuse from the soldiers, as this is the only way they can understand what awaits them in enemy territory. The prisoners learn to overcome various obstacles, handle weapons, and perform strength training. One evening, Captain Choi Jae-hyun gathers the prisoners on the beach and informs them that if they are captured, they must take their own lives. He promises that they will be provided with everything needed for this, but first, they must learn a special technique. If they fail to end their lives, they will face unbearable torture. He also warns that if any of them scream during training, it will be considered as leaking secret information to the enemy. Disclosing such information will jeopardize the entire unit. Then, soldiers rush toward the prisoners, who are shirtless, and press burning iron to each of their backs. Most of the men can't endure the torture. They begin to scream and immediately jump into the water to ease their suffering. Only 3 prisoners remain on the shore: Kang In-chan, Han Sang-pil, and Gun Jae, who endure the torture in silence. Captain Choi Jae-hyun asks them what they were thinking to overcome the pain, but they don't have any special secrets. They simply focused on the successful completion of the mission. The captain then orders the prisoners to be divided into 3 groups of 10, with each group led by the most resilient fighter. The prisoners begin new challenges designed to strengthen their team spirit. The soldiers set up boxing matches on an improvised ring in the middle of the beach, and all the fighters passionately cheer for their group leaders. The losing teams undergo extra training, and competition grows between the commanders and their groups. That evening, Han Sang-pil, who lost in the ring, confronts Kang In-chan, demanding they continue the fight without rules. The members of their groups immediately step up to defend their leaders, but the commanders are already preparing for a new confrontation. Suddenly, Gun Jae, who is not involved in their conflict, throws them a knife and suggests they swear that the loser will slit their own throat. He explains that if they continue fighting, the soldiers will punish them harshly every time. The only way to stop it is for one of them to end it. Kang In-chan attacks Gun Jae, but with a single blow, Gun Jae knocks him down, and the others hesitate to continue the conflict. At night, Captain Choi Jae-hyun, along with Sergeants Jo and Park, plans the attack. The soldiers decide to send the fighters along the same route that the North Korean unit attempted to take when they infiltrated South Korea. After eliminating Kim Il-sung, they are to seize the Ministry of Defense and the Armed Forces headquarters. However, Park argues that the land route will take an entire week, and the lack of time could cause the mission to fail. He suggests they cross by sea and through mountainous terrain, which would shorten the operation to just 2 days. Jo doubts the fighters can make such a long journey by swimming, but Choi Jae-hyun assures him that he himself used this route. The next day, the prisoners begin new training. They are forced to stay underwater for as long as possible while the soldiers continue to shoot above the surface. They then begin exercises on a rope bridge. The captain warns them that each group has exactly 65 seconds to cross the bridge. If they delay even by a second, they will be riddled with bullets. Suddenly, a member of Han Sang-pul's group stops in the middle of the bridge and can't continue. After losing a few seconds, he tries to move with trembling legs, but stumbles and falls onto the rocky shore, suffering numerous injuries. The other fighters rush to finish crossing the bridge and narrowly dodge the bullets at the end. Over time, the teams become more confident in overcoming the challenges, but suddenly, a fighter from Kang and Chan's group begins to feel faint. The commander orders him to hang on the rope to allow the other fighters to cross. Once the group successfully reaches the other side, Kang and Chan returns to help the weakened fighter, but he slips and falls onto the rocks. That evening, the soldiers burn the body of the fallen fighter, and Sergeant Jo argues that in such situations, one must always think of the greater good and not stop to save one person. Later, in the barracks, the team recovers from the unfortunate incident. Suddenly, Sergeant Jo enters and informs the injured fighter that he must return to prison. The prisoner begs to be allowed to stay on the island as a cleaner or a cook. The other fighters support him, expressing relief that they will be free from these mundane tasks. After some hesitation, Sergeant Jo agrees to the majority's wishes. Team 684 continues their training. 2 years pass, and the prisoners are transformed into strong, agile, and resilient soldiers, capable of handling even the toughest challenges. The day before the operation, the team gathers on the beach around a campfire. Captain Choi Jae-hyun admits that he has been to Pyongyang over 20 times but never dreamed of destroying Kim Il-sung or blowing up his palace. He reminds the prisoners that the successful completion of the mission is their only chance to redeem themselves in the eyes of South Korea. Captain Choi wishes them luck, and all the fighters drink a special tincture prepared by their injured comrade, then enjoy themselves in anticipation of the important day ahead. The next night, in heavy rain, Team 684 assembles on the beach and listens to the captain's final speech. He assures them they will become true heroes and help their people reunite. The three groups enthusiastically board their boats and head for North Korea. Suddenly, Captain Choi is urgently called to the phone. The government demands the mission be cancelled, and a shocked Captain Choi orders Sergeant Jo to immediately bring the team back. The soldiers catch up with the fighters on a boat and inform them of the mission's cancellation. However, the former prisoners are determined to see the mission through to the end. Jo insists it is an order, and they must wait for further instructions. But this doesn't stop the fighters. In response, Sergeant Jo opens fire on the team, and all the fighters leap into the water, dodging the bullets. The prisoners realize that they are now unwanted and will have to return to prison. The fighters beg to be allowed to complete the mission or simply be released, but the sergeant has nothing to say to them. The next day, the captain arrives to speak with the general and asks for a new operation date. The general states that it is not up to him, and the head of intelligence, who was responsible for creating Unit 684, has been dismissed. Disappointed, the soldiers reluctantly continue training, not understanding what lies ahead. As evening falls, they begin to grow restless, and two of them discuss how they will spend the night with women once they are freed. Soon, they come up with a plan. They sneak out of the barracks under the pretense of needing to use the restroom, but instead, they head to the medical unit where they take turns assaulting the nurse. However, the military quickly notices something is wrong. Fearing the former prisoners might escape, they raise the alarm, rousing the entire unit and searching the island with them. After a while, they spot a light in the medical unit and demand that the criminals immediately come out. The men, terrified of being executed for their actions, take the helpless nurse hostage, threatening to slit her throat. The soldiers issue another command to come out, but the frightened fighters remain in the medical unit. As the unit surrounds the building, the men decide to end their own lives. One of them, Wonhee, fails to carry out the act in time, and the soldiers capture him. The entire unit is then gathered on the shore. They force the bound Wonhee to watch as the rest of the fighters are beaten as punishment for his actions. However, Wonhee begins mocking them, boasting that, unlike the others, he was with a woman. Suddenly, an enraged Kang In-chan grabs a baton from one of the soldiers and charges toward Wonhee. He delivers a brutal blow to his head, killing him instantly. Kang In-chan explains that Wonhee had gone insane and had become a burden to the unit, so he decided to get rid of him. He also asks Captain Choi Jae-hyun to send him to Pyongyang, stating that he is ready to endure any trials and even sacrifice his life for the cause. However, the captain doesn't respond. The next day, Captain Choi Jae-hyun returns to meet with the general. The general states that the relations between North and South Korea are constantly shifting, and the operation to eliminate Kim Il-sung is no longer relevant. However, the captain reminds him that the state must still take responsibility for Unit 684 and requests to have them included in the Air Force. The general refuses, explaining that everyone involved in the operation has already been removed from their positions. They are then interrupted by a high-ranking official, Mr. Oh, who states that they must eliminate Unit 684. Mr. Oh also hints that if Captain Choi Jae-hyun successfully wipes out all the fighters, a promotion will await him. The captain does not give up and insists on sending the unit to Vietnam, but Mr. Oh argues that doing so would make the world aware of their barbaric plan to eliminate Kim Il-sung. Now that peaceful reunification of the countries is possible, they cannot allow it to be exposed. Captain Choi Jae-hyun continues to advocate for a more humane solution, but Mr. Oh loses his patience and fires a shot into the wall next to the captain, declaring that he must obey the state's orders and eliminate the unit. Mr. Oh warns Captain Choi Jae-hyun that he has 1 week to deal with the soldiers, or the government will storm the island, eliminating everyone on Silmido, including him. Meanwhile, the unit has been training on the island for almost 3 years. Captain Choi Jae-hyun returns to Silmido and watches the unsuspecting soldiers with a heavy heart. In the evening, Captain Choi Jae-hyun calls Kang In-chan into his office. The captain asks if he regrets accepting his offer 3 years ago, but Kang In-chan insists he is grateful for the chance. Suddenly, Captain Choi Jae-hyun asks Kang In-chan to bring him some drinking water, which he himself had poured onto the floor before Kang's arrival. Kang In-chan leaves the room, and soon Jo and Park enter. Captain Choi Jae-hyun tells them about the leadership's orders, but the sergeants refuse to follow them. The captain explains that if they don't comply, they will be wiped out along with the unit. Jo continues to resist, while Park changes his mind, not wanting to risk his life. Kang In-chan, of course, overhears the conversation and the next day informs Han Sang-pil and Gun Jae about the leadership's plans. The sergeants argue over their differing views, and Jo firmly refuses to participate in the unit's destruction. Park then decides to take matters into his own hands and asks Captain Choi Jae-hyun to send Jo to the mainland so he won't interfere. The group commanders notice Jo leaving the island and realize this is a bad sign. They and several other fighters run to him and salute him one last time. That evening, Park gives orders to his soldiers, warning them that by morning, no one from the unit should be left alive. Each of them must eliminate their assigned soldier. However, the commanders have already informed their comrades and come up with their own plan. They must be the first to take out the soldiers, although many feel conflicted about attacking their trainers. After lights out, the fighters leave their barracks, disable the guards, and seize weapons. 30 minutes before the final assault, the unit opens fire on the soldiers. A fierce shootout ensues, resulting in dozens of military casualties and the destruction of all buildings on Silmido. During the clash, Kang In-chan finds himself in Captain Choi Jae-hyun's office, aiming a weapon at him but hesitating to pull the trigger. The captain admits that he received orders to eliminate their unit and will have to carry them out. Kang In-chan is confused, wondering why the captain let him overhear the conversation if he was just setting up his subordinates. However, the captain says his conscience wouldn't let him do otherwise. He asks Kang In-chan to shoot him, but Kang In-chan can't bring himself to do it and wants to leave. In a sudden turn, Captain Choi Jae-hyun decides to take his own life. Meanwhile, Gun Jae shoots his trainer, with whom he had developed a strong bond. He cries over the body of the young soldier, only to be shot in the back by Park. Soon, Kang In-chan joins the remaining survivors, and they begin pursuing Park, the only soldier left alive. Cornering the sergeant, they accuse him of betrayal. Park responds by stating that they wouldn't have survived anyway, and he didn't want to die with them. Han Sang-pil is confused about why they shouldn't have survived, and Park reveals the truth about the government's plans. He explains that the files of all the prisoners who ended up on Silmido were destroyed. Officially, they no longer exist, and they would never be recognized as heroes. Enraged, the soldiers shoot Park, and then struggle to come to terms with the fact that no one would ever know what happened on the island. However, Kang In-chan suggests they take action and make their existence known to the world. The soldiers change into military uniforms and, the next morning, arrive on the mainland. They hijack a bus and demand the driver take them straight to the residence of the South Korean president. The members of Unit 684 calm the terrified passengers, assuring them that no one will be harmed. But soon, an official announcement is heard on the radio, warning that around 20 armed North Korean infiltrators have entered Seoul. The government urges people to be cautious and report any suspicious individuals in military uniforms. Suddenly, the bus stops due to a roadblock. The soldiers order the driver to continue and open fire on the soldiers outside. During the shootout, one of the soldiers from their unit is killed, and they send him off with the North Korean national anthem. The soldiers press on, but soon they are surrounded by even more military personnel. Kang In-chan proposes that they all exit the bus and pretend that he, the son of a communist spy, had been holding them hostage. However, none of his comrades are willing to leave, and they all want to fight until the end. Desperate, the soldiers open fire on the military, but they are shot down one by one. Eventually, Sergeant Jo arrives at the scene. He claims that the people on the bus are not communists but his subordinates, and wants to talk to them, but they ignore him. The wounded soldiers realize they are doomed and, as their final act, write their names on the walls of the bus to prove they are not unknown saboteurs, but heroes willing to fight for their country. Then, they free all the passengers and decide to detonate grenades to end their lives. The media portrays the incident as a terrorist act, and all the documents related to the Sido case are sent to the archives. No one ever learns the truth about what happened on the island or who the members of Unit 684 truly were. Their identities, struggles, and sacrifices remain hidden, lost to history, and the world continues unaware of their existence and the dark chapter they were forced to endure. Would you choose to endure such trials, or would you rather face a simple execution? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, give us a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Catch you in the next video.